Senator Menendez, Gold Bar Menendez from New Jersey, also known as the mini Joe Biden. He inherited Joe Biden's seat when Joe Biden left the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And there's questions about his activities and really Joe Biden's activities because there's a lot of parallels between the two of them. And here Menendez was previously charged for having gold bars, allegedly from Egypt, but now he's got a new superseding indictment being charged with FARA violations, Foreign Agent Registration Act violations, saying that he was acting as a foreign agent for Egypt. Not good. We know that Joe Biden had a lot of questionable relationships with other countries, and so we're going to read through the highlights of the superseding indictment, get some reaction from some senators, including the very, very best and brightest John Fetterman. But let's see what the White House is saying about this, because Menendez has a bunch of close connections with Joe Biden. In fact, Joe Biden was the person on this Senate committee that Menendez inherited, and so the White House got asked about this today.
To the Chairman Menendez thing, because in another realm, this would be a bigger effing deal. A successor to the president as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
Well, he's no longer chairman.
No, but the president was once chairman.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see. You're making that connection.
Yes,
got it. Successor. No, I got it.
Has been accused of being a foreign agent for Egypt, which, not for nothing, is involved in this situation right now, for that matter. Has the president been brought up to speed on this? If he has no comment today, can we see comment on whether he has any concerns that someone with that kind of a position may have been accused of it, and whether he should be running for re-election?
So we have always said it is a serious matter, right? We've always said that, and we'll continue to treat that as a serious matter. I just don't have anything else to share beyond any statements from the president. I just don't have anything outside of that. But of course, we see this as a serious matter.
In another realm, it's a pretty big effing deal, and I think he's right about that. This is a senator. Okay, listen, they had meltdowns. They said Trump was selling, secrets to the Saudis, and like they had a nuclear submarine silo popping up in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago after Trump was breaking clavicles when he insurrected the Capitol. Like, they're nuts. They say that all this exists, but their own side is filled, as far as I'm concerned, with foreign agents, not only Menendez, but also the president's son called Hunter Biden. So they don't want to answer too much about it, but it is a big deal. And we're going to go through the document here in a minute, the new indictment. Here was another question from Karine, and here she says that you don't really, nothing from me.
Is the president okay with having a lawmaker who's accused of conspiring to act as an agent of a foreign government remain as a member of Congress?
The Admiral was just asked this question. I just don't have anything to say beyond what he shared.
This is referring to Bob Menendez.
No, I know. And he was literally just asked this question. I'm just not going to say any more to what he just added.
Nothing. So we've got that. We've also got this weird clip that I thought was a strange one. I wanted to share this one with you. Apparently, we've noticed a lot of things are going on in this world, but it's difficult to see the continuity with the pressure that has been placed on the Biden administration. I've seen that basically evaporate. And this guy is a Republican, and he's saying that we also should not be criticizing the Biden White House right now. This is a weird non sequitur. It's like, I think we can do a bunch of different things at the same time. I think we can also be concerned about what's happening in the Middle East, and be concerned what's happening in America, and be concerned what's happening with Joe Biden and all of these things. And this is a weird response from this guy. This guy's a Republican, retired Navy SEAL from Wisconsin. His name is Representative Derek Van Orden. And, this is as people are asking about Biden. Here's what he says.
But I want to speak to my Republican and Democrat colleagues here in Washington, D.C. This is not a time to attack the Biden administration. You know how adamantly I disagree with what they're doing, but as Republicans and Democrats, as legislators here in the United States of America, now is not the time to attack the Biden administration. Now is the time to stand with the United States of America. That means the executive branch and the military, to make sure that Israel understands that they have our unwavering support. So I'm calling on my Republican colleagues, our Democrat colleagues, let's get together, let's get the speakership done so that we can actually support Israel as they deserve it.
His speakership done. That's it.
What? Just do whatever we say. You don't need to even stop all your other concerns about Biden administration and all the attacks that we were, investigating with all of the corruption. Forget about that, okay? It's all irrelevant. We need a speaker, and we need to focus on the Middle East, and just forget about all that other stuff. And man, we were hitting the panic button about this, like all of the Biden crime family investigations. We had good momentum here. We were talking about those every day. New letter, new subpoena. And now it's just like we have Republicans now coming out and saying saying, we'll just kind of hold off on everything so that we don't divert our attention. What? All right. So those are Republicans now. Now let's take a look at this superseding indictment so we can parse out some of this criminality that I still think is important. I think we should still be holding the Biden administration accountable. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. Here's 44 pages. It is the new one, the superseding indictment that came out. United States of America versus Robert Menendez and his wife, Nadine. Going to give her a nickname, but I'll save that for another conversation. Here's the overview. Menendez, and we read through most of this, okay, so we're going to fast forward through this quickly, but we want to focus on the new charges, which is a Foreign Agents Registration Violations Act crime. Here they say Menendez, Democrat senator, senior senator from New Jersey. From 2018 to 2022, Menendez and his wife Nadine, they were engaged in all sorts of corrupt activities, including to benefit the Arab Republic of Egypt. Those bribes included cash, gold, payments towards a home mortgage, compensation for a low or no-show job. They got a luxury vehicle and other things. And a lot of these things were intended to benefit Egypt. In fact, they say that Menendez improperly advised and even pressured the United States Department of Agriculture for the purpose of protecting a business monopoly that was granted to Hannah by Egypt, right? A foreign government. Wild. Menendez, the defendant, took another series of acts on behalf of Egypt, including on behalf of the Egyptian military, a U.S. senator, and intelligence officials. They communicated requests and directives, Egyptian officials, to Menendez. Agents executed search warrants at the home of Nadine and Robert, and they got court-authorized searches. They found fruits of their corrupt bribery scheme. And we remember some of these photos, just to hit the highlights again. Robert Menendez, look at that. Congressional Hispanic Caucus, 2,950s, 1,420s, and we don't know how many hundo Benjamins are over here, but that looks like probably about $5,000 sprayed out there. That's about probably the same. Now, we don't know what jacket this was. Senator Menendez right there. During the same court-authorized search of the home, agents also found furnishing, and they also found gold bars. Here you go. Relevant individuals for the gold bars. And we read all about those as well. And so you can see she ended up trying to sell those, and we see that this guy, Menendez, he held a leadership position, the same position that Joe Biden was on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He was the ranking member and then the chairman, and he had influence over, among other things, how the executive branch gave out foreign money, foreign military financing, and how that money flew to Egypt. And by virtue of his position as the senior senator, he had the ability to tell the president what to do and recommend who nominated and was served from New Jersey. And he said a bunch of things, right? He told us that he couldn't do this stuff, and then he ended up making phone calls to try to get people off of criminal charges. Here's some more stuff with Egypt. They did a search, and they found a bunch of text messages between Hannah and Nadine. So the Egyptian liaison and Nadine. Nadine deleted a bunch of these messages from her cell phone, but the search revealed thousands of text messages, many via an encrypted application, with Egyptian military and intelligence officials. So a U.S. senator was a played asset for Egyptian intelligence. Isn't it incredible? So Jose Uribe, another defendant, is a businessman there, and he was working in this as well. They tell us more about the statutes. Okay, so here's more about FARA. They say the Foreign Agents Registration Act is a federal registration and a disclosure statute that requires any person agreeing to act or acting in the United States as an agent of a foreign principal. So just think about Hunter Biden, right? Working for Burisma, working for the CEFC, the Chinese energy company, working for Romania, the list goes on and on. To register with a U.S. attorney for the purpose of registering, so they can monitor what you're doing, your political activities, whether you're consulting, public relations, and so on. We would like to know if we have foreign agents working in our country, and including if they're senators. So such registrations are made to the NSD FAR, gosh, these names, so they can keep tabs on these people. Now, the purpose of FARA is to prevent covert influence by foreign principals like the Egyptians. Proper registration under the statute allows the government and the American people to evaluate the statements and the activities of the people who are registered. Among other things, it would reveal what they're doing, who they're working on behalf of, what they get, how much money, what political campaign contributions are being made, and others. Public officials, including members of Congress, are prohibited by law from agreeing to be or acting as foreign principals and agents under FARA. Illegal. Can't do it. At all times relevant to this, the Senate Ethics Manual, it was publicly available. He knew. It says regardless of compensation in the manual, you are a public official may not act as an agent for someone else. That's why Joe Biden outsourced this to his family members. That's why Menendez outsourced this to his wife. But Menendez was just dumb. Okay, he got gold bars and cash. Hunter got wire transfers via LLCs, and he had more agents, apparently, inside the government than Menendez did. Or actually, I think what happened is they're just throwing Menendez away right now. I really think that. They're just tossing Menendez away just so it's one, it's 4-on-1. 4 Trump indictments plus the Michigan indictments for all those people, plus Rico's Big Fanny's 91 counts. Let's get rid of a senator who's probably way too corrupt and has been found with gold bars. You know what I mean? They say the defendant between 2020 and 2022, the senator, he made multiple requests for the DOJ to commence an investigation against another person for allegedly failing to register under FARA. Look at this. Wow. What a piece of work, this guy. Check this out. In particular, Menendez sent a letter to the head of the National Security Division. He wanted an investigation into another individual who had previously served as a member of Congress. Menendez, who is acting as a foreign agent, rats out another congressperson, who they won't tell us who that is, and sends a letter. Says this guy is failing to register as a foreign agent. He says, tattletaling on this other guy who's doing literally the same thing he's doing. It's all Congress. The act is clear that acting directly or indirectly in any capacity on behalf of a foreign principal triggers the requirement to register under FARA. So they've got this letter where this guy's explaining the law. Obviously, he doesn't know the law. Actually, I think this letter kind of supports him. Like, the act is clear. He's saying, I've read. I mean, he knows it, obviously. But he would know that, theoretically, that person can't register. Oh, actually, he could. He was a former member of Congress. He was not sitting. That's why. So, moreover, Menendez sent a second letter to the U.S. attorney reiterating that the former member of Congress be investigated for failing to register. So he's ratting, and I wonder who that was. Who do you think that was? In the second letter, Menendez said, if so-and-so, probably a Republican, carried out work that requires registration, it's imperative that the Justice Department ensure he is held to account. So he is asking the DOJ to investigate his former colleagues for doing the same things that he's doing. The first of these letters was posted on his public website for his Senate office, right? He's proud of it. And the second of these letters was also on the public website for the FARA, Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So as a public official, they make clear Menendez was prohibited from serving as a foreign agent. And Nadine and the other defendants, they never registered either. In or about 2018, Nadine said that she was dating the senator, brings in Hannah. Nadine introduces Egyptian intelligence and military officials to the senator, and they want to create this corrupt agreement. These other dudes are involved. And they say, here's what's happening. By the way, at the background, at the start of this indictment, Egypt was among the largest recipients of U.S. military aid. They got over $1 billion per year. Yeah, and I wonder what that's going to use for right now in that region. Very important region right now. Billion a year, billion a year, billion a year. Where's that going? What's that going to be used for? And in the form of direct government sales of military equipment, Egypt typically paid with foreign military financing, and the executive branch was involved in a lot of it. The State Department was involved. The State Department would honor holds placed. The State Department would interface with Senate Foreign Relations. In other words, the State Department would typically not proceed with a transfer without talking to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Menendez knew that, and he possessed substantial influence over Egypt. So for at least several years prior to 2018, despite its strategically important relationship with the U.S. and the Middle East, Egypt had often faced resistance in getting that money. State Department said it was withholding and so on. And so they came back in and they were getting Menendez, I think, grease the skids, as it were. Ooh, we got photos. Now, these are new photos. We haven't seen these yet. Here we go. In or about 2018, Menendez met with an Egyptian military official and other officials at a meeting arranged by his girlfriend. Oh, isn't that cute? And her friend, Hannah. It's like a movie, man. Two, foreign agents. I think there is a TV show called Hannah. Is she a foreign agent in that show? Menendez allowed Nadine and Hannah to arrange and participate this meeting. He's like, hey, my new girlfriend's setting me up. And so they bring all these Egyptian officials from these Egyptian spies into his Senate office in Washington, D.C. And he's like, sure, I'll take a photo with you. Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Stand right next to me. It's so obvious. And they included discussions of foreign military financing aid. Here's a photograph taken during the meeting. Senator, so dumb. Here's Egyptian official 1. By the way, we got many photographs like this with Joe Biden, don't we? Many photos with Joe Biden standing right here. And you know who else is in the photo? photos? Hunter, standing right there. So Menendez and Nadine again met with Hannah. Later the same day, Menendez sought from the State Department non-public information about the nationality of the persons serving in Egypt. The information was not classified, but it was deemed highly sensitive. Without telling his staff, Menendez gave that information to his girlfriend, and they sent it back over. And we talked a lot about a lot of this stuff when they lifted in the original indictment. We read through a lot of this, but here's just a quick, we'll hit some of the highlights and see if there's stuff new here. But Hannah, after dinner with Menendez, texted Egyptian official 1 that the ban on small arms and ammunition to Egypt has been lifted. That means sales can begin. That would include sniper rifles and other articles. That's cool. So, I mean, hopefully Egypt is not involved in this, whatever this new conflict's going to be. If it turns out to be global world war, I don't know what side Egypt's going to be on, quite frankly, but we'll see. Later and we just funded them to the tune of $1 billion a year in terms, including with small arms and other articles. It's pretty incredible what the U.S. is just giving out to the whole world, but whatever. Later that month, Nadine conveyed a request from Egyptian officials seeking in assistance editing and drafting a letter lobbying other U.S. senators to support Egypt. Multiple Egyptian military officials met with Menendez again to discuss this stuff. Menendez sent his girlfriend. He says, hey, tell Hannah, the Egyptian spy, I'm going to sign off on this sale to Egypt today. 46,000 120 millimeter target practice rounds and 10,000 rounds of tank ammunition. 99 million bucks, whatever. He says, note, he sends this to her, note, these tank rounds are for tanks they have had for many years. They are using these tanks in Sinai for the counter-terrorism campaign. I'm sure. So here they continue. Another date, 2019, they met with another Egyptian intelligence official, Egyptian official 3 at this time. They discussed a human rights matter, and this is interesting. The incident, they're talking about a 2015 airstrike. The Egyptian military used a U.S. manufactured Apache helicopter. The incident led to the citizens' injuries and the perception that certain members of Congress that Egypt was not willing to provide fair compensation to that person. Shortly after the meeting, Menendez conducted a web search for the name of the American citizen. About a week later, using an encrypted message, Egyptian official texted Hannah in Arabic regarding this human rights matter. He says, if Menendez helped resolve this matter, he'll sit very comfortably. Hannah replied, orders, consider it done. Unbelievable! Egyptian official then texted Hannah of a statement from the American citizen's attorney. A few days later, Nadine, who in turn forwarded it to Menendez, Nadine then deleted her text messages about the matter. Wild. All right, so this was all about the halal company. We read through a lot of that, and she got the money. She formed an LLC. He protects the monopoly. We've got more dinners. More Egyptian official dinners. There's the senator. And is that Nadine? Sitting next to him with Egyptian officials hanging out. And this is adding a little bit more meat to the bones. And let's see what else is here before we take a look at the new charge. We saw this photo last time in the prior indictment. Egyptian official number 5. Let's see, did they have the Christmas party photo in here? She was wearing a heck of a dress that day. And I'm sure the senator was, very happy with himself. Here's another photo. Associate number 3. Man, they're having nice steak dinners out. Selling out America. Isn't that fun? So let's see where the charges are. And we'll wrap up this segment before we see what Fetterman has to say. So the first count, as we talked about originally, was conspiracy to commit bribery. And there were overt acts for that. Count 2, conspiracy to commit services fraud. Count 3, conspiracy to commit extortion. And count 4, conspiracy for a public official to act as a foreign agent. Boom. So here, from at least January 2018 to 2022, Menendez and others conspired to make him a foreign agent. In furtherance of this, we saw all the overt acts that we just talked about previously. They say they live in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. They've seized a bunch of money that they want forfeited. So here's all the stuff they took from Menendez. They took his residence, or they're asking for forfeiture of his residence in New Jersey. C-Class Mercedes-Benz. $480,000 of U.S. currency seized, so about $500,000 in cash. Whew, that's a lot. $80,000 in U.S. currency from a safety deposit box. And who keeps $500,000 cash at home? Gosh. 2 1 kilo gold bars seized from Englewood Cliffs, 11 1-ounce gold bars also seized from the residence, and any and all funds ending in 887 in the LLC, which is housed at a certain bank. They've also got One Vision Fitness suspension trainer. Oh man, what is that? A One Vision Fitness suspension trainer. Are they trying to get some exercise in? Oh, okay. Well, that's good. You know, I always encourage some good fitness, and this looks like, you know, this looks like an interesting thing here. So it's one of these machines, which is what they captured. Vision Fitness. That's a pretty nice little elliptical. And I don't know what version they had, but it's good. You know, you definitely want to stay fit when you're carrying all those gold bars, don't you? You want to make sure that you're not getting too tired when you're lugging your $500,000 of cash around. So that's good. So they got all that stuff, and 11 1-ounce gold bars, all seized. One Vision Fitness seeking forfeiture of that in the new indictment signed off on by Damian Williams, the attorney out of the Southern District of New York, which is where we're at. So that is the superseding indictment. Mini Joe Biden is busted again for failing to register as a foreign agent. And I think that each one of those charges would have equally applied to Joe Biden and to Hunter Biden. And Joe was on the same committee that Menendez was, and Hunter was doing the same things that Nadine was. It's all the same story, just a different character, and they happen to be president. So one person, John Fetterman, is already asking and demanding that they throw his butt out. In fact, here's what he said. He said, John Fetterman on Thursday called on the Senate to expel Senator Bob Menendez. He said Senator Menendez should not be a U.S. Senator. He should have been gone a long time ago. It is time for every one of my colleagues in the Senate to join me in expelling Senator Menendez. We cannot have an alleged foreign agent in the United States Senate. He says this is not even a close call. And it's interesting when you hear something from Fetterman that seems, you know, like it makes sense because someone wrote it. But here's what he said. This is just a fun clip where he was on with whatever this dude's name is, and he's complaining about Congress. And just to be clear, I completely agree with him on this statement.
You all should need to know that America is not sending their best and brightest, you know, to Washington, D.C. Yes.
It's true.
Like, sometimes you literally just can't believe, like, you know, these people are making the decisions that are determining the government here. It's actually scary.
It is scary. You're right about that, John. Sometimes a broken clock is even right twice a day. And so that's John Fetterman. I happen to agree with him there. It is quite amazing that these are the people that we have in Congress. People like Joe Biden, who's now the president, people like Menendez, people like John Fetterman, sitting there, shocked as we are that he's in Congress as well. So we'll continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for checking out robertgovea.com. All these videos are turned into reports that are on there. You can also access all of these documents by signing up for our newsletter. You get access to the mind map. So everything you just saw is available. You can navigate and browse it around at robertgovea.com. We'll see you there.